Hey, what's up guys? JS Cards here coming at you with a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. Today we're going to be going over my Invoked Dogmatika Shaddoll deck. Yeah, I built this deck and I've been having a lot of fun with it, taking it to locals now that locals is doing tournaments and stuff again. It's been really fun playing in person and I've been doing pretty well at this. Just, normal summoning Alistair and hoping that goes through. Winda wins games, and yeah, I just really like this deck. I like how all three of these archetypes synergize really well together. So I thought I'd profile it for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all of the things. Do all of the things. That'd be awesome. But anyways, let's jump into this. So yeah, I think this list is pretty standard, but I kind of added my own twist to it, so we'll talk about everything here. So we got 3 copies of Alistair, of course. You want that normal summon to go through. Yeah, this card's great. Really not much to say. For the Dogmatika cards, I'm playing 2 copies of Ecclesia. Pretty standard, and then I'm playing the 1 Fleur de Lis and the 1 Maximus. Maximus is really good. I kind of wouldn't mind playing another copy of Fleur de Lis too, just because it can be a pretty powerful beat stick at the end of the day. But Maximus is really good, just being able to send 2 cards from your extra deck into the grave, and then your opponent does the same, and then of course your Shaddoll effects can go off and your Titaniclad can go off that way. Really cool card. I really like it. Shaddoll package is actually really small. I know lots of people play like 2 copies of all these or 3 copies even of Wendy, but I'm just playing 1 of all of them. So I got 1 Wendy, 1 Squamata, 1 Dragon, 1 Hedgehog, and 1 Beast. Oh, and the 1 Ariel. Just 1 of everything. You can play more, and I get why people do. Your Shaddoll effects are really good. The more Shaddolls you open up with, plus like one of the fusion spells, you can get out your Winda, get out your Construct easier. I really like having 1 of each, but I really did that so I could play more hand traps. So this deck is filled with hand traps, and you can change these ratios and stuff up as you see fit, or if you want to play less hand traps and go with more Shaddoll names, go for it. I just decided to go with 1 of each. But speaking of hand traps, I'm playing 2 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Ghost Bell, 2 copies of Veiler, and then we have the Gamma package here. So if they try to Ash us or stop the Alistair, we can at least respond with a Gamma. Feel free to play different hand traps, just kind of depends on what's going on in your local meta. I just decided to play all these because I think they stop a variety of different things. The Veilers could even be Imperms if you wanted to play, more traps, or if you wanted to play Imperm, you could, but Veiler's just a great card and it's more budget. But yeah, I decided to just kind of stick with these hand traps just to hopefully stop whatever my opponent has going on. And then we can move on to the spells. All right, we'll get this out of the way. This is the only thing really holding the deck back. I only have 2 copies of Nadir's Servant. I would love to play a 3rd one. I just haven't got one yet, and it's still like a $70, $75 card. I've had these 2 for a while, but yeah, just haven't got my playset yet. But maybe when the tins come out, if it's like an ultra rare or something, I'll be able to get a playset of ultra rares or something, because we're not going to be playing mixed matched rarity. But yeah, I would easily cut something to play a 3rd Nadir, but you're honestly fine with 2. I haven't really had many issues. A few times where I wish I would have drawn it or opened it, but like nothing where like the deck isn't playable or anything crazy like that. Like this deck is really good. You have so many other good spell cards in this deck that yeah, 2 Nadir you're fine with, but if you have a 3rd one, please play it. But yeah, I thought I'd get that out of the way. This should be 3 Nadir, but you know how it is. Anyways, triple copies of Magical Meltdown. I can't believe this card's at 3. This is really good. It protects your fusion spells from going off, lets you get the Alistair, and then you kind of go from there. So, it's really fun to bait your opponent too. Like if you do open the Meltdown in the Alistair, you can play the Meltdown. They're gonna stop it probably if they have some sort of hand trap, but then you just normal summon the Alistair anyway, and they're like really. So yeah, fun card. Really like this. And then we have the one terraforming to search it out. Then we move on to all of our fusion spells. So we got 2 copies of Invocation. I kind of had a third one in here to kind of replace like the third Nadir, but 3 was too much. So I cut this down to 2, and then I'm playing 3 copies of the Shaddoll Fusion, which is awesome. Great card. I cut the third Invocation I was playing for an El Shaddoll Fusion. I really like this. It's a quick play. You can bring out Winda on your opponent's turn. You know, maybe even 2 copies of this would be good. I know in more like pure Shaddoll or just Shaddoll invoked decks, they do play more copies of El Shaddoll Fusion. Space is actually pretty tight in here. You can make a few changes if you want, but I just really don't know what I would cut for another copy, but the 1 is still really good. And then 2 copies of Super Polymerization. This is another card I originally had at 3, but it's not as good right now, but you know, it still stops Dragoon. It can stop a few different annoying cards. If your opponent brings something out, you can just use it as fusion material. But yeah, maybe, you know, if Dragoon or some, I don't know, annoying cards like a Dark or something starts being played more and more, then I'd bump this up to 3, but 2 copies is good. And then we have the Call by the Grave, so we can stop a hand trap. And then I play 2 trap cards, so I'll just lay them right here. We got the Schism and the 1 Dogmatika Punishment. All right, so for the extra deck, I had some fun testing out a lot of different cards in here, and space is really tight, so as much as I wanted to keep some cards, I decided to cut them for others. We'll kind of talk about it in a second here, but I'm playing 2 copies of Construct, 2 copies of App Cologne, and 2 copies of Winda. I really like just 2 of all of these. They're all really good, and I really like how you can like use App Cologne and Construct's effects when they're in the grave to pitch certain Shaddoll cards into the grave and then just get them back with Construct or whatever. You know, so if you want to get your Schism directly into your hand, you can just use App Cologne. There's just some fun interactions with like sending certain cards to the grave and getting them when you need them. So I really like that. I decided to play 2 of everything. And then for our Invoked, we're playing the 1 Makaba, the 1, I never know how to say this, Goides, and 1 Purgatrio. Pretty standard. I was playing 2 Makaba, but decided to play a few more Link monsters. But yeah, I think this is really good. I mean, your Makaba is usually protected anyways, and if you have hand traps and stuff on top of that in your hand, you're kind of good to go there. The last 2 fusions that I play are the Titaniclad and the 1 Entis. These are just great. I mean, if you're using your Maximus or something like that to just send these directly from your extra deck into the grave, get their effects to go off. Really good fusions. I really like them. And then for our links, I'm playing the 1 Almirage and the Secured Gardna for when you bring out your Alistair. 1 Gravity Controller. This works really nice with your Construct. And then 1 Verte Anaconda. This card's good. I had it in here and then I swapped it out for a Cross Sheep, which is actually kind of a cool card to play in here, just because when you fusion summon, you could then special summon out a level 4 monster. I decided to swap back in the Verte just to be able to copy a fusion spell name is too good in this deck. So I really like this. And at a point, too, I even considered playing the Dragoon package, but I really don't think that's necessary. That just added 3 extra cards into the main deck with your 2 normal monsters and the Red Eyes Fusion, and I didn't know what to cut. And yeah, it just didn't really work out. I mean, Dragoon's good, but it's really not necessary in this deck. You can set up a really crazy board with your Makaba, and then you got your Dogmatikas out on top of that. And if you can bring out a Winda, I mean, you're set. Dragoon, sure, that would be great too to play, but really not necessary. If you have a Winda out and some disruption and all of the Dogmatika monsters and stuff, your opponent really can't do much. So not necessary, but if you want to play it, if you want to cut some stuff, it won't hurt. It's a dark and it kind of fits with this whole deck theme anyway, so go for it. As for the side deck, it's a work in progress now. I did have a side deck built, but after I took this to locals this past weekend, it was the first time I really played in real life in a long time. like everyone was playing some sort of Shaddoll variant. There was another Invoked Dogmatika Shaddoll. There was just a pure Invoked Shaddoll. Yeah, lots of. I was not expecting that. It's been a while, and I guess everyone decided to play Winda or some sort of like control Shaddoll deck. And I need to find out some cards and build a side deck to help the mirror match. Because the mirror matches can get pretty crazy when you're both using super poly and using each other's monsters and targeting, all your effects are going off in your graveyards. The mirror matches are pretty fun, not gonna lie, but you kind of have to know like what monsters to use when, and like when should you use your opponents, when should you stop what they're doing. So that's something I'm definitely going to be practicing, and hopefully I can play against more mirror matches and kind of learn that matchup a little better. So the side deck I'm going to change. There was also lots of Sky Strikers there too, which I was more prepared for, but yeah, just definitely something that I want to redo the side deck now that I kind of know what some people are playing there. But yeah, that is it for my deck profile today. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more. Definitely stay tuned for more Yu-Gi-Oh news, deck profiles, and openings, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.